it kind of goes to show how good these movies are, you
Yeah.
know. But just to give our general thoughts, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this as we did with the original Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, just because we want to, save most of our crazy discussion and predictions for The Last Jedi based off The Force Awakens, because
Yeah.
this doesn't really lead up to anything. It kind of wraps up the original trilogy.
It ends everything.
So I'll just turn it over to you, Mike, first. You want to just give, maybe not most memorable scene yet, but we'll just go like overall like best impressions of this movie.
This is my second favorite Star Wars movie after Empire. I'll
Right.
say that. And just rewatching it today, like I understand why it is, because I feel like it has the most set pieces out of any original Star Wars trilogy movie. I mean, you have the Tatooine with all the Jabba the Hutt stuff,
Yeah.
and then they move to Endor at the end, and what else?
Well, they move out of Jabba's palace to like when they're going to the Sarlacc pit.
Starlight Pit, the Rebel base, the new Death Star,
New Death Star, yeah.
other Star Destroyers. I feel like maybe like a little. I just feel like the battle with. That's the one thing I do think. The battle on Hoth, I think, is triumphed over the Sarlacc pit battle for me personally.
Oh, absolutely.
I just kind of think it's more fun because like the battle on Hoth, I kind of get bored of sometimes.
Oh,
'cause-
wait. You like the Sarlacc pit battle more?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I said absolutely agreeing with you, but actually, I'm a bigger fan of the Hoth one personally.
That's fair. I see why. I just kind of an unpopular opinion. Because I feel like it focuses more on the characters.
The
in the Starlight Pit battle, because like, you have Luke flipping all over the place, and he's really into his Jedi stuff now. That's why I like that.
Yeah, the infamous Force kick
Yeah.
when he
Kicks.
yeah, and
That's fine.
they
But, you
they
also
kill
see,
off
like-
Boba Fett.
Yeah. Pretty bad. Boba Fett, where?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Bye bye. No, I don't know. I think it's the third movie, so they've had two movies to like perfect fighting scenes, and I feel like it just really works really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Stuff's happening at that.
Favorite scenes from this movie for me, I would have to say, first off when they unfreeze Han, because bringing back my favorite character. Obviously, can't unstab him with a lightsaber, unfortunately, but worked the first time, Moving on to just other scenes in the movie. Just anything with Palpatine, Vader, and Luke all together. That whole fight scene, some of the best for one of like the it's weird because this movie is the scenes have such a stark contrast on each other, with like Endor kind of being a bit goofy. Like, I mean, let's be real with, I mean, they kind of make a joke out of the stormtroopers throughout the whole trilogy, but at the same time, like, the best of the best is getting like destroyed by these like teddy bears,
I like the Ewoks.
No, don't get me wrong. I like the Ewoks, but what I'm saying is like, you're not really like being like, oh yeah, like go Ewoks. You're like, hey, yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, then you get like, what about the Ewok who gets stepped on?
Oh my god, yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's like they get killed. I don't know. I feel like they were running out of. They wanted to finish the movie.
Yeah.
In that sense, I guess. They're like, okay, let's wrap this.
Well,
up.
the Ewoks were made to sell toys, though. Like, no, like that's like actually confirmed. That's like what George Lucas said. But yeah, exactly.
Works, probably.
But the point is, like, what I'm saying is, nonetheless, it still feels more funny than serious. But when you transition to the whole Vader, Palpatine, Luke thing, that's when it's like very serious. And some of the metaphors that they use are like ridiculously impactful. The one that gets me the most is when Vader swings at Luke, I think. He like jumps down and Vader can't find him. And he's in the dark and half his face is covered by a shadow, and the other half is in the light. And it's one of the most powerful metaphors I've ever seen in film, because it's literally saying he is completely divided right now between the dark side and the light. And I just found it very impactful. It was one of those things where the first time I watched it, as, not like 6 or 7 years old, I understood it right away, and it makes me appreciate the movie even more. And that's why that's one of those things about Star Wars that's so timeless and just so appreciative, is that these little things that you don't notice as a kid, you grow up and then you notice, like, little things that, I mean, even though we make fun of George Lucas a lot, like, he's a genius for a lot of the stuff he put in the original trilogy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think about how far he strayed from his own brilliance with the prequels.
Yeah, I know.
Because the original trilogy is, in many ways, it's many ways perfect. I feel. I don't know, it's argue there are flaws, but like from like that standard. Of
in my opinion, it's the most complete trilogy ever put on screen, and a lot of people will disagree, and they'll say Back to the Future, Indiana Jones.
I was about to say like Indy.
Yeah,
but I see what you mean story-wise. I feel like
all arcs are fulfilled.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
all
say.
characters are done justice. We have a villain who is like redeemed and like
a villain defeated.
Yeah. And that's why, even though, people do have complaints about Return of the Jedi, I believe it's like, I think it's like 77% on Rotten Tomatoes, actually.
Really?
It's surprisingly low. I remember seeing.
I was watching it today. I was like, oh, I really like this movie.
Maybe not Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe like Metacritic. I know that guy's harsher than most. But the point is, I really enjoy this movie. Another metaphor before we move on. The whole Luke being in all black, and when he finally, when the Empire gets tossed off, the balcony, it gets revealed, his jacket opens up and there's white on the inside, and it shows that, even though the outside he may have looked like he was turning towards the dark side the whole time, on the inside he was always the light.
I feel like that, like, Luke never really felt like he was gonna go to the dark side. You know what I mean? I
felt like he was close. I mean, when he first interacts with Vader and Vader brings him upon the thing, he's not fighting with him. He's just like, hello, Father, and he's very like eerie, and I mean,
I feel like he's trying to like help like get his dad out of it.
I don't know, but I mean, he was. I feel like Luke would have turned if when he was swinging at Vader, he chopped off his arm, or his hand, I mean, and Palpatine says like good, and if Palpatine doesn't say that, I think Luke turns, to be honest, because it was when Palpatine speaks that Luke realizes. He looks at his own robotic hand, looks at like the wires left from where he just severed one of his robotic hands, and he realizes like, I'm becoming my father before my very eyes, and I don't even notice it.
But do you think Luke would like ever actually want to side with the Emperor per se? Maybe not, like, maybe he goes to the dark side, sure, but I don't think he'd side with the Emperor. I don't think he'd take like orders from him because of like the way Obi-Wan Kenobi like kind of talk. No, like how he kind of talks to him throughout the movie, especially as the Force Ghost in this one. He really is like, you have to make the decision. It has to be the right decision throughout, like both Yoda and Obi-Wan.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like in that situation, the Emperor is very manipulative.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. It would have been interesting to see. But the whole way it worked out, it was a perfect storybook ending to that whole story and trilogy.
Would you say it's the most complete trilogy? I agree story-wise. I think it wraps up the best story.
Yeah.
Like, continuously.
Exactly. other thoughts. Oh, when he burns Vader's body, I thought that like very symbolic, very like Norse mythology there. I thought that was interesting. And one thing I do really like, this is not the special edition version, but the whole celebration on Endor. I thought that was pretty cool. Just have like a little local celebration.
As everywhere else is celebrating. Was that special edition?
That's special edition.
Yeah. I'm like that looks CGI.
Yeah, because to many discretion of viewers, you can actually hear when they're on one of the planets. You can hear someone say in the distance, "We са free." So, yeah, believe it or not, it's actually the case.
They got rid of the Gungans.
Yeah.
But I don't like how Anakin Skywalker, Hans Christian Andersen, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's like, oh, that's before he became Darth Vader kind of thing, but like, I don't know. What's he doing in my movie?
Yeah.
What's he doing in my movie?
Before we wrap this up, we also get the reveal that, Princess Leia is Luke's sister.
Yeah.
Big reveal. Yeah, and Han's infamous reaction when when Han was saying, "If there's something between you and Luke, don't worry, I'll stay away." And she's like, "He's my brother." And then his face just, you can see him think back to the moment when she kissed him on Hoth. And it's just like, it's classic Harrison Ford. I'm trying to think of a memorable quote.
I was just thinking about C-3PO's quotes, because I think he has the best quips in this one out of all the trilogy.
Yeah.
It really put him up for laughs in this one. From like being sold to Jabba the Hutt, from like flying around in the chair at the Ewok village.
Just trying to think. Before the special edition, before they added it in the it's not really a quote, but despite the fact that when Palpatine is electrocuting Luke, and you can see the conflict on Vader, despite him wearing a mask.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So that's probably most memorable. Because it's not a quote, but like biggest impact on a non-dialogue scene,
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like the talk Luke has with Yoda is also some of the best dialogue.
Oh yeah, good dialogue there.
He's trying to tell him everything he could before he died.
Exactly. All right, so want to give it a score out of 10, and then we will wrap it up.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna go with an even 9 out of 10. Lowest score I think I've given to any of the original trilogies, but I mean a 9 is still a high score. Still very enjoy this movie, and like I said, it completes what, in my opinion, is the most complete, and I'd even go as far to say greatest trilogy ever put on screen.
I'll give it a 9.5. I mean, I feel like personally for me, this is my favorite. It's my second favorite Empire. Rewatching Empire at a standpoint, I know it's the best Star Wars movie,
right?
But I feel like this is just my personally favorite in a way,
right?
Just because I feel like I've watched this one the most. I've it's just the way it ends, the whole thing. It's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, without further ado, it is time to roll credits. All right, so we want to thank you for joining us today. We actually only have a minute left of recording, so we went the full 45. But we really enjoyed discussing Return of the Jedi and the news topics, as well as the weekend box office update. And just for where you can find us, you can find the podcast on Twitter at Real Talk Pod. That's real spelt REEL, as spelt in the podcast title. Mike, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, MikeGillis25.
Perfect, and you can find me everywhere, just like Mike, Twitter, Instagram, at Liam Crowley714. So next week we'll have our Force Awakens review and some news topics along there as well. But without further ado, we thank you for joining us today, and it's been real. Thank you guys, and we will see you next week.